Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us. Happy to have on board St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith. Morning, Mr. Mayor.
Hello, Richard. How are you?
Good to see you. Fine. On the road for a bit. Nice to be back in town. Hopefully the snow, came back to snow last week. I should know we're taping this show on Wednesday, April 28th. So, in fact, I left in snow on April 1st and came back to snow last week, but hopefully lots of the snow's over. But anyway, good to get back into town. And seems like on the pandemic front, boy, dealing with this for over a year, but sounds like progress. Vaccinations seem to be moving along pretty well. Governor talking about July 4th being a return to at least hopefully a pretty good semblance of normalcy. So how do you think St. Albans is faring at this point?
I think St. Albans is doing very well. We've been able to do a number of activities which sort of lend you to believe that, or lead you to believe that things are somewhat normal. We continue to do blood drive. I gave blood last week in City Hall. I'm hearing from the high school that they're going to be doing a full graduation ceremony.
Really?
Albeit it'll be outside at the complex is sort of the initial plan. The city's I think we're looking at doing 4 concerts in the park to begin with. And those have always been held on Wednesday night to sort of try to spread out the activities. Farmers market's ready to go. And then just started conversations with Kathy Manahan about the car show. And that would be on Main Street as it was 2 years ago.
Right.
So a lot of that's coming back. I think people will be looking forward to participating in those events and getting out and seeing their neighbors. So it is hard to believe it's been a year. It's, Little League has started back up. So we're getting there. I would think by July 4th, the comfort level after many people had received their shots. I think I saw on the news where we were one-third through the state's population. So I think 210,000 have been fully vaccinated, which is great, but we still have a long ways to go.
Sounds like, and boy, I guess surprising news to the governor and probably a lot of people was census figures out and the Vermont's population actually grew, about 2.8% up from about 625,000 to about 643,000?
Yeah, I have to tell you.
Are you skeptical of that?
I was one that was very surprised with the number.
Yeah.
For a couple reasons. One being that, in my view, it did not appear that the census process was going that smoothly.
Yeah.
They were desperate for help.
Yeah.
The numbers that we kept getting was that the city had was at 40% or 50%. I never really heard that things improved significantly. So I was taken aback by the number. I just didn't think the system worked well. I don't think the census report is well received by a lot of people. I mean, I remember growing up, that was a big thing. There was people going door to door, and you made sure it was filled out. But I don't think that's the case anymore. So I guess I would be curious to see how they got to that number.
Interesting. And then, of course, the pandemic. Yeah, at one point I was thinking about taking a part-time census job, but it seemed like it was always an issue looking for people, how intrusive should they be? But have you seen an official number for St. Albans City?
No.
No?
Not yet, no.
And of course, I love the subhead I heard on radio, a radio news story, and I love this. The reference was, well, at least for the next 10 years, Vermont will continue to have just one congressman, one congressperson. Yeah, I think you can probably safely say for the next 1,000 years, I would guess, unless the state's population miraculously doubles. But I love that. I didn't see the figure. I think probably the average figure for a congressional district in the country is probably about Vermont's population, or maybe even a little more, 700,000.
Yep.
So I love the reference that, boy, maybe at some point we'll have another congressman. Yeah, don't count on it. Vermont and Wyoming, the two smallest states population-wise.
I thought it was interesting. I caught a news clip, and they were talking about some of those areas that had changed and where they either gained a congressperson or
Yeah.
lost one. And some of the talent, like one in Minnesota that gained a congressman,
Yeah,
exceeded that number by 26 people.
right. And the New York, you probably heard the New York numbers. I kept hearing the story either way. I think the accurate story was, had they counted 89 fewer people in New York,
Right.
New York would have lost a second congressional seat.
Yep.
I heard that story
That's
kind of going both ways,
Yeah,
but
that's exactly what I heard.
that's incredible, by 89 votes.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, the census, boy, you wonder how accurate those numbers are.
Yeah, the 89 I heard was if they had loaded up 89 people onto 2 buses
Wow.
and shipped them out, they would have been fine.
Wow, interesting. How are we doing with, when I last left, the USCIS,
Yeah.
U.S. Customs and
Security.
Immigration Services, and their kind of uncertain status building-wise? Any hard news on that?
I wouldn't say hard news, other than the fact that they did put out a request for letters of intent or letters of interest as to parties who might be interested in proposing sites or buildings moving
Yeah.
forward. The key to it, from my understanding, Richard, was they wanted at least 2 from Franklin County so as they could have some competition.
Yeah,
And if they, so what I read into that, if they didn't get the 2, they were going to go elsewhere, like Chittenden County,
really?
to see if there was interested parties there. As luck would have, we actually ended up with 4 proposals.
Really?
I can share with you that the city is one of those. But there's, it's just a letter of intent. It's what, what's your plan, just a 30,000 square foot or 30,000 foot level. You share what your plan is, and then they'll make a decision and move forward from there.
Really?
What that timeline is for moving forward, I don't know. The timeline for these letters of interest was just this past, I guess, last week, so last Monday, the 19th. So they did get 4 letters stating the interest, and so that was encouraging, and so we continue to be optimistic that a facility will stay in Franklin County.
I know, I think you were in touch with Senators Leahy's office.
Leahy's and Sanders both, yeah,
And Sanders.
and Welch's for that matter.
Interesting. So meanwhile, the Tabor complex, of course, down and out, had water issues, and the lease, I guess, is up June 30 anyway,
Right.
So it's still a lot of workers in the wake of the problems there. Some of the workers have been working in Essex, I guess, most still working at home, I guess.
Yeah, I drove by, I was down there yesterday afternoon, and parking lot's empty. I mean, there's,
Empty.
the whole building wasn't affected, but they made the choice to send people to Essex or work from home, which is understandable. There was a lot of activity, but from my understanding, it's been cleaned out, but they haven't started the rebuild process yet. So that's for the cities, we're concerned about that. You have, I guess, the building's 104,000 square feet.
Wow.
And what does that, what does that mean for the city moving forward and finding tenants? And 104,000 of office space is a lot of space.
Interesting. So some potential use, hopefully, for the city down the road, huh?
Yeah, and I would say that I think the developer of the building is interested in supplying one of those letters of intent as well, trying to refurbish it and open, having that as an option as well, so.
Interesting. So the hope, obviously, to keep a facility somewhere in the St. Albans area.
Right.
All right, good luck on that front. The second apartment building across from the library, when I think I left town, that was almost finished. Is that still some more work, or is that pretty close?
Yeah, they're still working on the internal construction, but they're making headway. They're advertising now for tenants, and it's going along well.
Yeah. And what about the old CCV? CCV, of course, having moved downtown across from City Hall in the new building, the former CCV
Yep.
headquarters, future home of St Albans PD. Any work started there?
Yeah, the deconstruction,
Yeah.
demolition, if you has happened. They're making some headway. Yeah, so they're moving forward on that.
Yeah. When time frame is?
Well, that's a good question, Richard. I don't know that I've heard one on that.
Yeah.
And I don't mean this to be flip, but I mean, there's no rush in,
Yeah.
I mean, you got current PD, nothing's gonna happen with that building.
Yeah.
No one's waiting to move in, so there's some flexibility in the timeline.
Yeah.
But I should find out what that.
But
what
presumably sometime this calendar year.
yeah.
For sure.
I vaguely remember maybe December.
Yeah. So once city PD's in their new headquarters, obviously it gives the fire department more room, but at some point you'd like to just get out of the building where both departments are now? Or not,
Yeah,
not a big priority?
We've had some discussions about office space for other entities in the city
Yeah.
that could potentially use that as well. Fire, it's not like the old days when they had to have a bunk room and kitchen
Right.
facilities and all that. So there's a lot more space there that could be utilized for other operations, so.
Right.
I know Dominic has had a couple conversations with potential tenants. Nothing's materialized yet, but
Yeah.
yeah, the plan would be to try to find tenants for that.
And the old Fonda Solo site, future home, hopefully of the Railroad Dispatch Center. What's the story with that?
Yeah, that's moving forward. We have grant dollars. We're looking for part of the recovery dollars. There's some more brownfield remediation dollars there that we would utilize to clean up and then finalize it so the rail dispatch could move into there as well. So we're optimistic that all that will come together here by the end of the year. And then hopefully we can start construction.
And the community swimming pool, again, strongly approved by voters at the March annual city meeting. We're talking work in the not-too-distant future on that?
That's our hope. I know that our engineers went before the Town Development Review Board, just trying to address probably the biggest issue at this point, I guess, would be the access point for the road going into Hardack.
And that's going to be, there'll be a change in that access road?
There'll be a slight change. The original plan was to move the whole road. That's not the case. We're just looking to move the entrance and tie into the existing road.
The dog park's okay? That'll stay, or may that change?
That might, a portion of that might get chunked off,
Yeah.
but for the most part, it will remain the same.
Yeah, it seems to be a pretty popular place.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing how much use it gets.
Yeah.
But the concern for the town, I think, and others is that increased traffic right at that intersection with Fisher Pond Road,
Yeah.
or I guess, what's that, 105, I guess it is.
Or
or
104.
So, and cars turning off from there,
Right.
and then cars trying to turn into I mean, we've seen it before during, when there's cross-country meets or soccer, recreation
Yeah.
soccer on Saturdays, it gets to be a bottleneck. So the town's looking at that. I don't know what the outcome was. Peter Cross, the city's engineer, went before them Thursday night, so it'll be a few weeks before we
Yeah.
get a response.
Huh. But that should be moving ahead.
Yeah, that's the expectation. Break ground this summer
Wow.
and be ready to go for early, probably late spring, early summer next year.
Next year. In the city swimming pool, Tim, you're going to get another presumably last year out of this?
We haven't opened it up yet, but that's the hope that
Yeah.
we will Band-Aid it together and try to get another year.
Boy, as we talked about probably every show, the city sure as heck got its money's worth
Yeah,
out of
no
that
doubt,
place.
No doubt.
With
So
with some great
30
staffing over the years, too.
33 or 35 years, or
Wow.
something like that.
And the original life expectancy was more like 25 or something?
25, yeah.
Wow.
And they've already changed out the filters once
Huh.
already. That was 5 years ago, I believe. So, since we're talking recreation, Richard, how much time we got here? Couple plugs, Green Up Days this Saturday.
About to ask you about that, yep. Saturday, May 1st?
May 1st, bags can be picked up in the city at Taylor Park, Holton Park, Barlow Street Playground, Senior Center, and Little League.
In fact, I think, as memory serves correctly, I think your wife Denise was the one who handed me bags last year
Yep.
at the senior center.
Seems to, and we've got good involvement. The co-op is putting a team out, CCV is, the police
Right.
department, the National Guard,
Right.
there's someone else, the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts are very active. So we think this will be one of the best for the city in terms of turnout. I know the town is meeting at the town garage for their Green Up Day, where you can pick up bags there. We're giving out coupons for Duke's Creamies for
Right.
anyone who participates.
Yeah.
And the Girl Scouts actually went out and solicited some coupons from McDonald's for ice cream there as well. So people could double dip on their coupons and have plenty of ice cream. The other thing is on Sunday, beginning at 12:30, up at Aldous Hill and Hardack, we're doing a Green Up event there. So Rise Vermont, Rec Department, the Mountain Bike Club, Aldous Hill, are all pulling together a Green Up there, which would consist of
Right.
cleaning out water bars, rebuilding some trails, cutting wood, spreading some wood chips on the disc golf course, a number of things like that. So
Great.
hopefully the weather holds on both. If people haven't been up to see the new Greg Brown Lodge, I would encourage them to do that. There'll be some activity around there. I think they're going to landscape around the Greg Brown Lodge this weekend as well on that Sunday. So
Will people be able to get inside that to get a look at it, or?
I don't know. I
Not
would
sure.
think so. I mean,
Yeah.
Kelly Vians and Andrew Grattan will be there working around the building. So I'm sure if someone wanted to take a peek in, 'cause
Yeah.
it just turned out fantastically.
No, again, as we've talked about, the future of Hardack just sounds incredible. What what a resource that should be for the area.
Yep. So that's a busy weekend. We encourage everyone to get out to do Green Up. The one I forgot was BFA's National Honor Society
Right.
is participating as well. So, like I said, last year I think we had about 80 people out and about. I would expect we're probably going to be pushing 150 this year, probably double what we had. So
That's great. It sounds like Green Up Days hung in there pretty well, going back to the days of, I think, Governor Dean Davis. It's
Yeah.
been a while.
yeah, if I had a suggestion, it might be, do we move it up earlier? I mean, the way that
Yeah.
springs have gone, our season has gone.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at what it was last year, this year, obviously it's not good for the sugarers, but it's tough to have a lot of the trash is being picked up in mid-April. So, do we look at an earlier date? Might be the only discussion.
In fact, now that you mention it, just driving around Franklin area, I forget exactly where I was, but I guess it was in Franklin, but I saw a number of people last weekend out with official green bags getting an early start on Green Up
I
Day.
saw bags down on the McQuam Shore Road too. I think the town probably got out and did some pickup as well. So,
Interesting.
last year no one had anything to do, so things were pretty well picked over by the time we got to May 1st or whatever the date was last year.
Interesting.
So it's amazing. It's lasted as long, I think, more than 50 years, if I'm not mistaken.
I guess so. Governor Davis, I think it's been a good 50 years anyway.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's great. Water storage tank, another of the money items approved by city voters in March. We'll see construction on that coming up at some point.
Actually, we're waiting on survey of the property. I say we being, I'm on the Aldous Hill Board of Trustees, and we are donating a small slice of land, which would be a permanent easement to the project, very, very minimal. It's more to assist in the construction aspect of it. So we're waiting for that survey to finalize the paperwork and get that in place. But I think the city's actually looking at completing that in 2022. I don't think that's happening this year. So, but the legal piece is moving forward, and everything's moving forward on that. You know, the other piece I'd probably want to mention to you, Richard, it sort of ties into both jobs, my real job and this one, but, you know, the amount of money that's coming down through the American Recovery Act for municipalities is going to be huge for, you know, bringing infrastructure and other things up to snuff. If you look, the city of St. Albans will get $2 million.
Really?
Town of Richford will get 750,000, and these are ballpark figures, but Richford will get 750,000.
Wow.
I was on a call with, this week I visited Richford, Franklin, and Fairfield select boards. Fairfield will receive just about 500,000.
Really?
Franklin will receive about 600,000, if I'm not mistaken.
And again, this is money, in case people are wondering, hey, lower my taxes. This is for projects.
This is federal dollars.
Yeah.
That's funneling down to every municipality in the state. And then there's another pot of money for counties that will be divided up for, once again, all the towns in the county. So they're going to get sort of two pots of money. It's not, right, it's not any local tax, it's federal dollars. How we pay for those in the long run, who knows? But
yeah, that's becoming, that's a bit of a concern.
yeah, each town will get a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And then how they use that, I know regional planning will be standing by to assist businesses or municipalities to utilize the money according to plan.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's, and they have 4 years to spend it, so, 3 years now, 2024 it has to be spent by.
I mean, in the case of the city, voters, again, decisively approved the, I guess, a bond for a new water storage tank. With this federal money, could you say, hey, voters, thanks, appreciate you approving that, but we've got other money we can use for that?
I think you could, Richard. I don't know all the details. We just got a sort of short outline of what the uses were without specifics.
Yeah.
So we need to get in that. The question that came up at one select board meeting, can this money also be used as a match for other grant dollars? So if you got, let's say you got a CDBG project or you got a Northern Borders project, can this money be used for that match? So there's a lot of information we're waiting for.
Yeah.
And that would be one of them for sure.
Interesting.
What I shared on, one of the council persons had that same thought. And my thought was if you go ahead and pay off the water tank, then you're going to have to go back to the voters. Let's say another project comes up, you have to go back to the voters. Whereas if you utilize this funding, it'd save you going to vote and setting up another vote time and all that. So it's how you choose to use it will be the discussion.
But you would hope and think that the city could definitely use this money somewhere, somehow?
I think there's some way we could put it to use. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk infrastructure, the change in the road for the pool was not in the original budget, so that could be covered by that.
Interesting.
We've talked about some traffic calming devices, and these are minor in the whole scheme of things, but coming up Lake Road and Newton Road where you have that transition period coming into the city, putting up some flashing lights or something along those lines. So, there's many little, not only big projects, but there's a lot of smaller ones we could utilize the money for as well.
Interesting. Harkens back just a bit to the old federal revenue sharing money days.
Yeah.
Interesting. So downtown, Tim, you think downtown's hung in reasonably well with the pandemic issue?
I think so. We had, through FCIDC, we're doing a workshop. Tonight is our second of 6 in a series of Start Your Own Business workshops. And we have 10 people on in the class. And I would say, if you listen to what they hope to get out of the class and where they hope to go with the class, is that there could be potentially three new businesses, not just, I don't know if they're all focused on St. Albans City, but creating new storefronts. So that's encouraging. We need to, and I need to reach out to the city manager and have we need to sort of refocus our energies on the downtown, utilizing some of our local option tax to spruce up some facades.
And speaking of which, did you see the first quarter numbers for the LOT, the local option tax?
I didn't get final number on that yet. That came out April 1, so I should follow up on that, but I
But
don't
that
know.
money obviously coming in.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
so we need to, my thought was we'd get a team together and start following up on some recruitment and reaching out to existing businesses to see how they can be helped. But overall, I've shared it before, I think most of them had if not their best Christmas, one of their top Christmas
Really?
seasons. And we didn't lose any businesses, I don't think, to COVID.
Really?
And there's a number of interested parties. So if we can come out of that by, and have a couple new ones in place by the end of summer, I would be more than happy with that.
Yeah.
So,
Easy to think of you with your FCI, Franklin County Industrial Development Corp hat, and employers and Messenger, the Tuesday Messenger front page story, labor shortage. Governor, I guess he had indicated last week he would do it, but at his news conference Tuesday of this week, finally the work search requirement, waiving that'll be back on the forms, I guess, starting the week of May 9th. So I got to think some employers around here will be happy to see that. Hopefully there'll be some more people looking for jobs soon.
yeah, no doubt, it's become a crisis. I mean,
Boy, it sounds like everywhere. I was logged a couple nights in Myrtle Beach. You know how popular that place is in the summer. I mean, as I left, I'm kind of on the south end in a motel on kind of the south end of Myrtle Beach. I still went by heading south, probably 100 motels, restaurants. I swear, everyone
Had a sign up.
everyone now hiring, help wanted. I mean, how that place survives this summer when things get crazy. I mean, it just sounds like it's a countrywide issue, but certainly a big issue around here, as you know better than anybody, probably.
Yeah, no, if someone's ambitious and has initiative and wants to work,
Yeah,
they would have no problem getting a job.
yeah,
Secondly, they would move up the ranks fairly quickly, I think, if
yeah.
they showed any initiative.
yeah.
And, if you've got the talent, you can pretty much name your price. It doesn't matter what field we're talking, whether it's
Yeah.
construction, if you're a heavy machine operator,
Wow.
if you're a CDL driver, if you're a CNC machine operator for manufacturing, if you're a nurse, I mean, all of these, the list just goes on and on as
Yeah.
to where the shortage is.
Wow.
And it's there'll be a couple stories out that our area will be surprised at some of the activity, some of the effects of this. Specifically with, we just were made aware of one that will be closing, that
Yeah.
they do just because can't find help.
Anyway, we could always use some more time, but that's going to just about do it. But anyway, good to see you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad the city seems to be faring pretty well. And hopefully catch you in a couple weeks, hopefully next show, May 12th. So anyway, that'll do it. Thanks to producer Roger Lindola. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. Thanks for watching us here on Northwest Access TV. See ya.